Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Let's try again. The boys' side first. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Alright, let's see if the girls can beat that. Girls, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Clearly, they beat you. Too bad. Okay. Thank you all for coming out. Alhamdulillah. Today is Sunday, the 24th of Sha'ban, is it? I want to be sure. Yes, it is the 24th of Sha'ban. Yes? Sha'ban is the month in the Islamic calendar that's before Ramadan. Okay, I want to ask, just before I get into this, I want to also give a few ground rules, inshallah. Ground rule number one is that I don't want this to be like a monologue where I'm the only one talking. But when I am talking, I would like you to kind of not talk amongst each other. Please give me your attention, inshallah. Number one. Yes, are we good with that? Boys side, sisters, girls side, yes? Perfect. Also, I would like to, what part of the thing that Islam teaches us is that, we have to be cordial and respectful to the other gender. Yes? This is something that our deen emphasizes a lot. Part of that means that when we are in a setting like this, right, we actually don't look at the other gender. We don't do that. We don't try to steal a glance here or there. We're focused on the person who's speaking and the content at hand. Are we good with that as well, inshallah? Yes? Perfect. Awesome. Thank you very much for being such a good audience. Yeah, Hassan, can I just ask you for a second here, please? Just 1 second. Are you in the back? Alright, so with those ground rules out of the way, inshallah we'll get started. Today is the 24th of Sha'ban, yes? Sha'ban is the month in the Islamic lunar calendar that comes right before Ramadan. What's the month that comes right after Ramadan? Anybody know? Shawwal, excellent, right? So when someone asks you, what day is Eid, right? People ask me, oh, when is Eid? When is Ramadan? I tell them, Ramadan is 1st of Ramadan, Eid is 1st of Shawwal. Get it? Because they're always wondering, when is it starting? So, well, it's going to be 1st of Shawwal, that's going to be Eid. The interesting thing is, that leaves us about 6 days leading up to Ramadan. In fact, the first fast will be on Saturday, inshallah, and the first Taraweeh will be on Friday night. Yes? This is, this is that time now. We're ramping up to Ramadan. The interesting thing is that as we lead up to Ramadan, there is sometimes a sense of uneasiness. Some people have this. How many of you feel a little uneasy going into Ramadan? I'll actually include myself in this. Every year I feel a little afraid. Yes? But you can be honest, totally. Okay? I feel a little afraid heading into Ramadan. Okay? I'll tell you what I feel is like what I'm afraid of, and maybe you can share what you are afraid of if you're comfortable. Yeah? Maybe I'll ask Qais. Okay? So I'm afraid going into Ramadan about how will I cope with the lack of nutrients. Every Ramadan, I'm a little afraid of that. And every Ramadan, towards the end, I'm like, I could live like this for the rest of my life. Yeah? It's always the same thing. Always the same thing. How can I do this? And then by the time, it's the 15th of Ramadan, I'm like, oh, this is just now second nature, right? How many of you feel that way sometimes with Ramadan? Yeah? Excellent, alhamdulillah. Qais, what are you afraid of? I know you can't cook. Oh, okay. Eating burnt food is your concern, primary concern. Okay, okay, fair enough. Maybe you just pull out the food out of the oven like 10 minutes before. There we go. Allahu Akbar. Problem solved. Anybody from the sister side who's wants to share something that they're kind of afraid of going into Ramadan? Yes? Not getting the most out of it. Awesome. Not getting the most out of it, making like Ramadan is like not so fruitful. Yes? Is that what you mean? Amazing. One more from the boys' side. Someone. Yes? Is that Yusuf? Allahu Akbar. Yusuf. Excellent. In gym class, not being able to drink water. Yes, how many of you feel that? Yes, I was in high school. I ran not this. It was like a cross country team. I didn't make the team, but I tried out for the team, right? And I did it while fasting, and my teacher was like, "Oh, this is great. Shows that you have endurance." But it was hard. It was not easy. Okay, so good point about water during gym class. Yes, I appreciate that. Any other from the sister side? One last one before I move on. Yes. Amazing. How the fear of the unknown, right? How will I react to the change of my schedule, the change in how I plan my day, right? The change in my sleep schedule, right? Everything you're kind of afraid of. This is actually okay. It's okay to have this sense of uneasiness going into Ramadan. Okay? But as you all know, once you are in Ramadan, all of these fears slowly erode. Slowly you start to realize that this is normal. Slowly you start to make up, like your body becomes used to eating at a different time, right? Slowly but surely you notice you're able to adapt. Yes? It's actually amazing. This is actually the point of Ramadan. One of the points, of Ramadan, to show us that, change is not supposed to be that hard. That you can actually change for the better. It's not as hard as you think. You know why? You've done it for 30 days. And you do it for 30 days every single year. That's what Ramadan really shows us. Right? Like the Quran says about Ramadan, كُتِبَ عَلَيْكُمُ الصِّيَامُ كَمَا كُتِبَ عَلَى الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِكُمْ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. There's a guy who's going to come with pizza. Okay? So I'm going to have someone pick it up from him. MashaAllah. Muhib, your brother is always volunteering for food. Allahu Akbar. How about Qais? Once he comes, I'll hand that over to you, inshallah. Okay? But just don't start without us, okay? Thank you. Appreciate it. The كُتِبَ عَلَيْكُمُ الصِّيَامُ كَمَا كُتِبَ عَلَى الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِكُمْ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. Fasting has been made mandatory so you can attain the quality of taqwa. Okay? Taqwa translates generally as piety, God consciousness, fear of God. But what it actually means is for someone to leave something that is impermissible. That is what taqwa means. Okay? It's to actually leave something that is not allowed or is something that's harmful. Okay? The word taqwa actually, in Arabic, every word has a etymology. You know what etymology is? Etymology is where does a word, what's the origin of a word? Okay? And in Arabic, this is a whole science. Okay? And the way it works is that you always have like an image that the word corresponds to. Okay? So for example, the word guidance, right? What's the word in Arabic for guidance? Anybody? Just yell it out. Huda, right? Or hidayah. Yes? How many of you know that word? Some of you? Excellent. Alhamdulillah. Right? The image is you have a flock of sheep, right? Have you seen maybe something on Discovery? There's sheep, some guys tending to a sheep. And there's a lead sheep. Okay? There's a lead sheep that's leading the rest of the pack along the way. Yes? That lead sheep would be called Hadi. Back in the old Arab times before Islam, they would call the sheep that's leading the rest of the sheep, that's leading the herd, as that. So there's always an image associated with the concept. This is a simple example. But the idea of taqwa is actually a shield. A wiqaya, a shield, or even some say like a helmet. Okay? A helmet or a shield that a warrior would wear when they would go to battle. Okay? What is this preventing them from? It's preventing them from dying, right? The shield, it prevents their head from being sliced up. The shield prevents them from getting hit by other people's swords, right? It is a type of protection. It's something that protects you. It's you can ward off this attack. That's what the image actually means. Taqwa has the same idea. You're able to ward off things that are impermissible, things that are not part of the deen. you are able to leave them for the sake of Allah. That's the core of taqwa. Now, how do we learn that in Ramadan? We learn that in Ramadan because we show to ourselves in action that I can leave the thing that is the most basic, essential necessity of life, which is food and drink, right? We leave food and drink, Muhib. Come on, man, stay with me. So you leave food and drink, and you leave it for an extended period, and you leave it for 30 days. That is practical demonstration that if you can leave something that is halal, yes, you can also leave something that is haram. That's what fasting is showing us. And it's an amazing demonstration of that. So the uneasiness we feel is actually because we're trying to, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to show us that we can do things that are uneasy. Things that are, we may feel not so good about, but you can do it. It's the right thing to do. You can become better. And fasting is a beautiful representation of that. If you can just wait for me to finish, and then I'll ask you guys your thoughts, inshallah. So that is what fasting is representing. Now, as we're heading into the month of Ramadan, there's a few things that I feel you should keep in mind to make it a very fruitful, very blessed Ramadan. Yes? It's like, I think, in my opinion, it's something that will really help organize your Ramadan. Yes? I feel if you don't prepare like this for anything that's important, you're probably not going to make the most out of it, right? If you have an important assignment, if you have an important course you take at school, for example, you have to have a little bit of preparation for it. If you're applying for a job, you can't just walk into the interview and hey, here am I, right? You have to prep a little bit, and there's a mindset you get into, okay? And there's some nervous moments leading up to it. But then once you're there, inshallah, you'll be fine. So I feel there's some prep. So with Ramadan, I would like to share with you a few things, okay? Given, of course, as you all are students, first you understand that it's okay to be uneasy heading into it because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will help you through it, 100%. And will show you how capable you are. Will show you how much potential you have that's yet to be unlocked. And fasting will show you that, those bad habits that we have, we can totally break them and leave them behind because we can leave behind something that's so much more essential, food and water. Okay, the number one thing I will tell you to make Ramadan very, very fruitful, to manage school work and in Ramadan and beyond, number one is making, keeping the main thing the main thing. Have you heard this phrase before? Keep the main thing the main thing. Some of you heard it. It's actually from Pat Riley, believe it or not. Okay, he's the guy who runs the Miami Heat. Okay, the idea is focus on what's important, and the other things kind of will just fall into place. What's the main thing for us? The main thing for us is what's an obligation. What is the obligation? The obligation for us is the 5-time prayers. Yes, the obligation for us is the fasting. The obligation for us is zakat, but you guys are poor, so you don't have to pay zakat. It's okay. That was a joke. You can laugh. Okay. Oh, no problem. So that's the obligation. Yes, we focus on the obligation first. That means what? That means you cannot say you're staying up late. You're staying up late for whatever, for Taraweeh and whatnot, and you miss Fajr. That's a tragedy. Okay, that's not something that's supposed to happen. Okay, a person while fasting, they organize their day in a way where they sleep most of the day, for example, and they sleep through Dhuhr. Right? They sleep all the way through Dhuhr and Asr, and then they wake up, they're like, okay, where am I now? Right? These are not good things. Okay, because you miss the main thing. The main thing is the salah. Yes, you missed it on this time. Okay, if you overslept, it's fine, you make it up, but you can't make that as a habit. Priority-wise, that should be the focus. Priority-wise, the fasting has to be the focus. So for example, right, someone brought up the idea of gym, right? Maybe you are in a sports team at school. How many of you are in a sports team at school? Okay, a few of you, right? Maybe now you're exerting a lot during fasting time, right? It's not easy. Perhaps it's not going to be easy for you to attend Taraweeh prayer at night. Okay? It's okay. Taraweeh is optional, right? You know that, right? Taraweeh is not a requirement. So if you have a strict or a busy day next day, maybe you want to catch up on your sleep, maybe you want to make sure you're hydrated, it's okay. That night you can skip Taraweeh, get some extra hours of sleep. Because you want to make sure that your fasting goes well. Your siyam, your fasting, you want to make sure that goes well because that's the main thing. Okay? It sounds very simple, right? This sounds like a very simplistic idea, but in reality it's very, very critical. I had some friends, for example, who work, they're engineers. Some of them work outside in the field, okay? And during the summer, the Ramadans, they would never come for Taraweeh during the weekdays. Because they're like, look, if we come for Taraweeh, we don't get any sleep afterwards, and we're super dehydrated at work, okay? It's very hard for us. So what we're going to do, we are going to take a break to make sure that our fast is good. Our fast, we're not like suffering through our fast. We're enjoying our fast. And I feel that's a good thing to do, right? Like you might feel this is a counterintuitive advice, but it is actually not. Because the fard is the most important thing. They come to the masjid, they pray Isha, they go home and go sleep. Wake up, have suhoor, pray fajr, go back to sleep. Okay? Then they're fasting, they're making sure they're doing a good job. So this is something that's important. Make sure that whatever you do in Ramadan, you don't compromise your fard prayers, and your fasting, you make sure that it is a productive fast. You feel good about it. You're not just like, suffering through it. Okay? So that's number one. Number two is prioritizing key moments. Okay? So all of you have school, yes? Alhamdulillah. You have schoolwork. You have commitments that are going to be there. Those of you who are in the university are going to be doing exams. Am I right? Yes? Allahu Akbar. May Allah help you. Okay? It is hard to study for exams and also be mentally present while writing the exam in the state of fasting. This is not an easy challenge. This is a hard thing. But as fasting will show you, you are more than capable of doing it. Okay? Now, as there's a lot of things that are happening, you have to prioritize certain aspects. What is the aspect you must prioritize if you have the opportunity? Your weekends, right? Weekends, when there's nothing happening the next day, make the most of the weekend, right? That should be like the Friday night, the Saturday night is the time where we really make sure that we do a lot of good. We come to the masjid, we stay in the masjid, we benefit. Yes? The last 10 nights are so critical because that's when Laylatul Qadr takes place. And as the Quran mentions, Laylatul Qadri khayru min alfi shahr. It is better than or has more goodness than how many months? 1,000 months. It's actually hyperbole. You know what hyperbole means? It means like it's not, exaggeration may not be true. Hyperbole is to say this is something that's way beyond the figure given, right? For example, your mom would say to you, I've told you 100 times, clean up your room. Yes? It's probably not literally 100 times. What she means is I've told you a lot of times. Right? Yes or no? Familiar experience? Alhamdulillah. The Quran uses these words and expressions as hyperbole. Laylatul Qadr has so much goodness, it is more than you can imagine. It's beyond the realm of imagination. That's how much goodness there is in Laylatul Qadr. So if you have to pick times where you can exert your energy, right? To get the most out of Ramadan, it is those nights, right? Pick the odd nights. If you have schoolwork, if you have stuff to do, you can do it on the even night of Ramadan, but the odd night, free it up for worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay? There are Sahaba, for example, who would work in the fields. They would be chopping wood, for example. They would be shepherds. And then they would take turns, right? One of them would come and study with the Prophet ﷺ one day, and then the other would be working in the fields. And then they would swap roles the next day, right? And then they would each fill each other in on what the Prophet ﷺ taught. This is how they managed their schedule, right? They would have loved to be with the Prophet ﷺ 24/7, right? But they had careers, they had stuff to do. And they managed to balance that by making sure their priorities or they were trying to maximize their schedule in Ramadan, this is one of the best ways to do so. Okay? So number one was, make sure you keep the main thing the main thing. Your fard has to be the most important thing, number one. Number two, prioritize key times. Weekends, because you're free. Last 10 nights, because that's where the most ajr is, particularly the odd nights. Okay? Number three, set up some checks and balances for yourself. Okay? Now this is something that you have to do for yourself. Okay? No one else can do it for you, but you have to do it in your mind. What is a successful Ramadan? A successful Ramadan means you have changed something about yourself fundamentally. Something about you that was not good has become better. Okay, I'll give you an example. The Prophet ﷺ said about a person who, while fasting, is saying stuff that is not good. مَنْ لَمْ يَدَعْ قَوْلَ الزُّورَ وَالْعَمَلَ بِهِ فَلَيْسَ لِلَّهِ حَاجَةٌ أَنْ يَضَعَ طَعَامَهُ وَشَرَابَهُ. The person who is going to fast, and then they say stuff that is untrue, they're lying, they're misleading people, they're cheating people, okay? And they're acting upon these things, like not just that they're saying it, they're actually doing it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has no need for them to stop eating and drinking. It's such a powerful statement. The Prophet's like, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't need you to starve yourself if there is no change in behavior. If you are still going to be cussing, lying, saying inappropriate things, what's the point of not eating and drinking? That's what the Prophet ﷺ is saying. Meaning, not eating and drinking, fasting, should alter fundamentally our behavior. It has to. If it doesn't, something went wrong. Okay? So this is an important question you should ask yourself at every iftar. At every iftar. Okay? Before you have that first date or that first samosa, right? And you're waiting and you're looking at the clock and you're like, 8 o'clock, 8:02, oh, come on, right? Take that moment to see, like, did I say something today that was like not correct? Did I say something today that was inappropriate? This is a question you have to ask yourself. No one else should ask anybody, right? This is not like, I'm not saying like, ask your brother this. Hey, I heard you lying today. You're not supposed to do that. You're not supposed to publicly embarrass a person. This is personal accountability, not public humiliation. Okay? So we ask this to ourselves. Is my behavior improving? And kind of grade yourself. If every day this has happened, where you have changed in the way you speak, that is a successful Ramadan. Because now for 30 days you've shown yourself, I can go on without lying, I can go on without saying something that's inappropriate, I can be better. Another thing we notice on this same topic is the Prophet ﷺ was a very generous person. Okay? Generous generally means كَانَ أَجْوَدَ النَّاسِ بِالْخَيْرِ. He was described as someone who was the most generous person. He would give a lot. People will come to him, and like the Sahaba document this. They would come and they would ask him, we need money, we need food, and he would keep giving and would keep giving, until he has nothing left to give. And then he would tell people, I have nothing left to give you guys. Like basically, like, stop asking me anymore. I don't have anything left to give you. Even when one time a man came and gifted the Prophet a cloak, and the Prophet wore it, and that was like the only, and a cloak is like a, like a hoodie or something, right, on top, something to keep you warm, right? And that's the only cloak the Prophet had. Some man came, saw the Prophet had this new thing, and this guy's like, I want it. So he came to the Prophet and he started asking, can I have your cloak? Right? Imagine, like if I'm wearing like a nice, hoodie, someone's like, can I have your shirt? Like, can you give me your hoodie, please? And I want to just take it for myself. The Prophet would actually give this stuff up to people. And this man asked him of this and he desperately needed it, he still gave it to him. And the Sahaba got upset at this man. It's like, how could you do this? He doesn't have anything else. But he said, I wanted to keep, this is like a, like a family heirloom for him, right? Now he has a possession in his family that is more valuable to him than anything else. Anyway, the point is, the Prophet was so giving that he would give even to his own detriment, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That is how he was. And he would be even more generous in Ramadan. وَكَانَ أَجْوَدُ مَا يَكُونَ فِي Ramadan. Every night in Ramadan, he would recite Quran to Jibreel alayhi salam, and as a result of that recitation, he would become even more generous. The Sahaba ran out of ways to describe how generous he was. So they would say that he was like a rih al-mursala, like he was like a blowing wind. You know what a blowing wind is? Right? Imagine you're sitting in like a hot day and then someone turns on the fan, right? Or the AC turns on and you feel the nice cool breeze. Right? That is how they would say, this is how the Prophet ﷺ is. He would just bring relief and pleasure and happiness wherever he would happen to be, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This was the effect that Ramadan had on the Prophet. Right? Now how does that translate to us? Like do I like become someone like, I'm giving away my stuff left and right? That's not what we're expected to do, right? But can you share? Can you share with the other person who's in your family? Can you share with people who you don't like sharing stuff with usually? Who has a sibling here? MashaAllah, all of you. Muslim families, everybody's got a sibling. I'm joking. I don't have a sibling. I'm the only child. How many of you have cousins? Okay, now that's going to be everybody, inshallah. Okay, so the interesting thing is, it's hard to share with siblings and cousins. Well, cousins not so bad, but siblings definitely. Would you agree? Hard to share with siblings. Yes or no? In agreement? Good. Right? Here's a test for you. Something to see if your Ramadan is actually good and fruitful. Something for you to hold yourself accountable to. Personal accountability, not public humiliation, right? So just leave him alone, please. The personal accountability is when you are sitting at the iftar table, right? And there's 4 samosas, mashallah. And there's 5 of you. There's 5 of you. Are you willing to be the person who tells your family, you have it, I'll not have this one today? Can you be that person? If you can be that person, I'm asking as a hypothetical. I'm not asking you to like, if you can do it, bro, great, alhamdulillah. But that, if you can start doing this, now you are sharing, right? Now you are becoming like the Prophet ﷺ, who was able to share and give to people even when he needed it. You don't need that extra food, right? You just want it, right? Let's be real. Right? You just want that extra food. But you can, the choice you're able to make that I will share this stuff that I want with somebody else who wants it. That is a successful Ramadan. Think about that, right? This is not an easy thing. This will be hard. But if you can do this, and you can do this for 30 days, that is an outstanding Ramadan. That is not just a successful Ramadan. That is an outstanding Ramadan. You have done so well in Ramadan if you're able to do that. Last thing I'll tell you. Is the pizza here still or no? Guys, what happened to it? No. Is the guy outside? Oh, did I say that? Okay. I did. I just wanted to mess him up. Huh? Without choosing when? MashaAllah. You see? Guys, you gotta take the car too, bro. Unless you're paying for it, which is good. Alright. The last thing I'll share with you, inshallah, is in Ramadan, the idea of managing your energy. Now you're younger, mashallah, so it's not so bad, right? Inshallah. But it's important to make sure that your sleep does not overtake your fasting. What do I mean by that? Right? Your fast should not be where you are up all the hours where you can eat and you're sleeping most of the hours when you're not eating. You know what I mean? That should not be your fast. If that's your fast, I'm sorry to say you missed the point. Even though it's a very tempting way to live, right? You're up the whole night and you go to sleep after Fajr and you sleep all of the afternoon until it's almost time to eat. Allahu Akbar, right? It's living a flipped lifestyle. That's not the recommendation. So I'm not a proponent of that. But what I will say is, you should manage your sleep better. Now, you know, the Quran describes sleep in a very variety of ways, and it's a very interesting study. How does the Quran speak about sleep? You may not think this is something to study, but it actually is quite fascinating. Okay, the Quran speaks about sleep when it talks about the Sahaba getting ready for battle. Right? What was the first major battle fought in Islam? Anybody know? Show of hands. Let's see. Someone who, okay, what do you think? Take a guess. Uhud, close. Somebody from the, Badr, correct. He's like, I'll correct myself. All right, very good. The Battle of Badr, the Prophet ﷺ and the Sahaba are actually very nervous. They're very, very nervous because they're unprepared. They didn't come for a major battle. They actually came for like a small skirmish, right? So they're actually very, very afraid that this might be like a massacre, okay? And then the Quran describes that when the night of the battle approached, right? The next morning is the battle. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Allah sent upon the believers amanatan nu'asan yaghsha ta'ifatan minkum, tranquility and calmness in the form of a deep sleep. You see that? The Quran describes that deep, peaceful sleep as that, exactly that, peaceful and uplifting. The Sahaba, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala goes to point this out. They were given this blessing so they could be prepared the next day for battle. I think the pizza guy is here. Qais, come back in and take the card. All right. Allahu Akbar. It's peaceful until the alarm goes off. Very good. Okay. Also, there is a story in the Quran, chapter 18, Surah Kahf. What is it called? What is the main story, or one of the main stories of this chapter? It's about the cave. Yes. But what about the cave? It was a group of young men who perfect. They had a dog. Excellent. Important. Very important point. But then what did they do? What happened to them? They slept. Right? Right? Thank you. Right? فَضَرَبْنَا عَلَىٰ آذَانِهِمْ. Is he there? Huh? No, I don't know if the guy is there yet. Oh, he's here? Oh man, mashallah, Miskeen is just dropping. Could you please give that to him? And tell him to get the receipt. Thank you. Okay. The pizza guy is just delivering food without money. Allahu Akbar. It is definitely Ramadan. People are getting more generous. Okay, we're getting close to Ramadan. Anyway, the Quran describes it, فَضَرَبْنَا عَلَىٰ آذَانِهِمْ فِي الْكَهْفِ سِنِينَ عَدَدًا. The Quran says, we put them to sleep. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put them to sleep, and it's actually ضَرَبْنَا عَلَىٰ آذَانِهِمْ. It means like their hearing was covered. So, like sounds wouldn't wake them up, wouldn't startle them. And that was like a type of mercy that Allah gave to these young men, especially to protect them. The point is, the Quran speaks about sleep in a manner that's very interesting. Getting to, if I can just have a minute here, young man with the brown hat. Hello. Okay, thank you. Okay. The point is, the Quran speaks about sleep as a way for you to manage your energy, to be prepared for something that's difficult, and as a source of mercy from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's how we should be in Ramadan. That's how we should take our sleep in Ramadan as well. You have those hours at night where you have to sleep. Don't ruin those hours. Make the most of those hours. Really try to get good quality sleep. If you have an opportunity to take a nap in the afternoon, take a good quality nap in the afternoon. Okay? These are important things to manage our energy, because if you don't have energy during a fast, you'll just be sitting there waiting for iftar time. And again, you'll miss the point of fasting. You'll miss the point of it. The Prophet says in one hadith that shaitan doesn't take a break, so you take a break. Meaning, the shaitan is relentless, right? You take a break by taking a nap. that will recharge you, that will give you energy to put up with his attacks, right? That is something that's really critical, I feel. If you're able to manage your sleep schedule, you're able to make sure that you keep the main thing, your fard, priority. If you make sure that you take advantage of any days that you have off, weekends, and especially if you can make time for the last 10 nights, those are the best way to balance work, life, work, Ramadan, school and Ramadan. And then the litmus test for you. You know what a litmus test is, right? In chemistry, you dip this strip and it turns into a different color. Tells you something is, acidic, I think, or not. Yes? The litmus test for you in Ramadan is, can you change the way you speak? Okay? Can you stop cursing? Can you stop lying? Even as a joke. And can you share stuff that you want with others? Especially in the form of food, because that's scarce during Ramadan. If those two things can be done, then you've had a great Ramadan, inshallah. I'll take some questions and then we'll have food and games, inshallah. Question over there, sister. Oh, no question? Okay. Few questions before the pizza. What happened to the pizza, man? Huh? Pizza is there. Allahu Akbar. Where's my card? It's gone. All right, let me call TD right now. Okay, questions. There's 2 questions here. Yes, first. Yes. Can you swallow your spit? If you don't swallow your spit, you're a miskin. Of course you can swallow your spit. How will you function if you don't swallow your spit, man? Come on. All right, next. Is there Taraweeh and Iftar on Friday? Well, no Iftar because we haven't fasted yet. Yes, but Taraweeh, yes, on Friday. Correct? Well, you can't have Iftar if you haven't fasted. Good point. Other questions, sisters? Comments? Yes. Quiet, guys. What foods? The food that the Prophet would eat for suhoor. Okay, so the food that he would eat would largely consist of dried fruits like dates and raisins, right? That was how they would eat. Okay, it would consist of something like bread, like carbs like bread. Okay, and then something to dip that in, like vinegar. Okay, that would be like a dipping sauce or something for them, right? That's like the main thing, along with water and milk. And then they would vary. Sometimes they would have meat, sometimes they wouldn't have meat. Food was generally scarce in the time of the Prophet ﷺ, especially once he went to Medina, right? So in the scarcity of resources, they would eat whatever they would have, but that's the general idea. Is there a recommendation from the Prophet on what to eat for while fasting? Before fasting or after fasting, there isn't a recommendation. The only thing is dates to eat while you are breaking your fast. Okay? But anything outside of that, whatever you feel is going to give you the nutrition, you should eat that. Alhamdulillah. That makes sense. Answer the question? Alhamdulillah. Question on the boy side. Yes. Okay. If you're able to swallow your spit. Yeah, I can't hear him. So chewing gum is it's an external object, right? You've put an external object in your mouth, and that has slight nutritional value in it. Correct? There's a little bit of calorie in it, so that's why it's not okay. Does that make sense? Other questions about Ramadan or fasting? Qais, the food is here. Allahu Akbar. Okay, there's a saying, when the food comes, you have to stop talking. The hadara ta'am batal al-kalam, right? So I will do that, inshallah ta'ala. How do we want to do this bayan? With the food. Go to the basement? Okay. Alright. So brothers stay here, sisters go in the basement. Okay, so what we're going to do is we'll take this, so bayan, how about you take the, whatever you feel of the food that's necessary for the sisters, you take it downstairs, and then you guys eat downstairs, is that correct? The guys are going to be, they'll be out there, inshallah. Okay, perfect, inshallah. So let's let the sisters take the food first. It's all pretty much the same. So I think there's pepperoni and cheese. I think 9 pepperoni and 3 cheese. Of course, halal pepperoni. All right, inshallah. We're going to wait a little bit and then we'll go, the boys will go afterwards. Yes, in the meantime, inshallah, we'll continue our discussion, informally. Hassan, we're good. You can. Subhanakallahumma